Hello everybody, I'm Martin. Welcome to another episode of Minecraft Enigmatica 2 Expert. Today, since we're waiting on mana diamonds to continue on working on our singularity farm, I figured we would actually stop being lazy and finally go make the ultimate crafting table from extended crafting. But there's some pretty big gotchas there. Because to make the ultimate crafting table, well, we need one specific thing here we haven't made before, and that's a Draconium crystal. And that requires the whole Mekanism or multiplication chain to be able to do this, all the way up to or Quintupling. Thankfully, we don't need to wire the whole thing up, we just need it to be able to pop out the crystals and not the full chain, but still. And the process for this starts with the chemical dissolution chamber, which combines ore with sulfuric acid to make a slurry. Delicious. From there, we take that slurry and pass it into a chemical washer and mix it with some water to make clean Draconium slurry. And that gets popped into a chemical crystallizer to create the crystals finally. This process is not without some hiccups, and we're up in my chemical lab because we need sulfuric acid, and we're already creating it over here in this chemical reactor back here, or we're already using it at least. And I figured we should actually properly integrate this in with our AE2 system so that we can actually access the liquids in it, so that we can reuse them and actually be able to make the fluorite that we need for other stuff. But there are some catches, like the chemical crystallizer requires a crystallizer from advanced rocketry, just when I thought I was done with machine structures, and I'm hoping I have some made still. Although I have this process pretty much mostly automated now at least. Other than that, this is mostly stuff we'd made before other than the sun crystal, which sounds scary, but isn't. The other machines are pretty much more the same, mostly just utilizing earlier machines that aren't hard to make, or in this case a bucket of acid, which we already have made. So I guess let me put some pieces together, grab some more parts, and we'll see how we can integrate this in without making a huge mess. Alright, so this ended up being a much bigger rabbit hole than I was expecting, but I do have it wired up and I've got it connected to the A2 system. But really only for the Draconium crystals. I didn't actually set up the rest for automation yet. But let's go over the problems, shall we? Because there was something that took me way too long to figure out that should not have. So step one, these are all nuclear craft machines, which means that this sulfuric acid is nuclear craft sulfuric acid, not, you'll note, Mekanism sulfuric acid, which is important. Because we get over to here and we have to create a fluid dictionary converter to swap the two types from one liquid to another. And unfortunately, the chemical dissolution chamber requires it be a gas, so we have to run it through the rotary condensator first. It would have been nice if there had been a conversion recipe for it directly in the condensator itself, which I could have sworn I saw in the Enigmatica 2 bug listings, but it apparently is not the case, or it never made it into the current version. But now that we have that, the whole process is working. We've got ore coming into here, we've got slurry pumping in, and we've got crystals stacking up here. I've got it all going into this drawer that's limited to a single stack so that we don't make more than we really need at any given time, since we're mining this and not creating these ores. And then via storage bus, it's just being added to our network. So you can see that the crystals are available right here when we need them. So that's one overly convoluted step finished. But that isn't the hard step, and we didn't discuss this yet, because there is one other piece we need that if you were looking, you might notice we've never made before, and that's the extreme crafting table for Avaritia, which actually isn't too bad to make. It does require us properly setting up the combination crafter though. Instead of just doing energized Draconium, we now need to do these crystal matrix ingots and crystalline catalysts, which we are already making these. The matrix ingots are also really easy though, it's just a bunch of diamonds. So let me go find somewhere to set that up. It's actually pretty easy to set up. Here I've got the combination crafter and 6 pedestals. They don't have to be arrayed evenly around it in any way, so I was able just to line them up and put a whole bunch of Ender IO conduits in a line. Just like the Empower, I have a single input here that has filters on it that puts in the main item for the center, as well as extracts the final table when it is finished. All of these other ones, I do not have any filters on. I just expect all of the other items to get dumped into this crate and propagate out to whatever pedestals are free. And it clearly works since I have one sitting here in my inventory having been auto-crafted. So at this point, I should have just about everything I need to actually make the ultimate crafting table. And I might have to hand make a couple of the components, like I think I have to make another wyvern core maybe. Might already have made it, I can't remember. But I should actually be able to actually make the table now. So enough excuses, I should probably go set up an auto-crafter for that. Okay, so I've got most of this set up to at least do this once, except there's a huge gotcha. I missed something. I'm sure y'all are used to me doing this by now. But if we look at the recipe, I totally missed one item that I thought I knew what it was. and that's the Resonant cell frame. I assume that was an energy cell, and it is super not. So what it requires is an empty cell frame, which isn't that hard to do. This is all stuff I can easily put together. But this has two things that we cannot easily do currently. So most of the stuff we've seen before. The exceptions here are the pulsating mesh here, which requires pulsating propolis, which comes from ender bees. That is actually the easy one because I can just go put some apiaries out in our fusion fuel farm and grab some bees. They're all over the end. That part we can do. That won't be an issue. The problem is actually this innocuous looking crystal right here, this cubic boric nitride, because this has no easy recipe. It's hexagonal boron nitride in a pressurizer, which the only way to make it is via this recipe over here in the crystallizer, which requires boron nitride solution, which, to put it bluntly, is a rabbit hole in the chemical reactor. It requires boric acid and ammonia, which each go a couple steps deep. It's pretty much the calcium sulfate upstairs all over again. So I need to go hook up another chemical lab machine chain to do that. So that's going to take a little bit. But I'm going to go toss up some apiaries in the end first just to get that started. Okay, man, these bees are some real stingy jerks. You get too close to them, they just start stinging you immediately. And it does a ton of damage real fast. Thankfully, we don't need to do this for too long. I can just put it where I'm not normally at right there anyways. And it should be good to go. I can use the bottle time to speed it up if I really need to, but it's still pretty slow. But we don't need a ton of this right now. And I realize I never got around to explaining the apiaries. You do need to put these frames in here. I bought a bunch of proven frames from my apiarist villagers because they're relatively cheap, and I basically have infinite emeralds at this point, but I could have made impregnated frames. But you can see that this is 2 times production and 240 durability versus the same production but significantly more durability, so they last longer. They also have a bit less genetic decay, but that's not really an issue since I'm using pristine queens. So I can just let this cook while I do all the rest of the work. Alright, so I decided to shove this in what was originally going to be my magic room, and clearly never got used to that purpose other than the Thaumcraft box over there. But this is another chain that's an equally deep rabbit hole as the calcium sulfate was. So I guess let's go through this. To start with, we need nitrogen and water and an electrolyzer to make, well, this doesn't show up here, but hydrogen. We're bending the deuterium and the oxygen as per the norm. Then we need to melt down some boron into liquid boron. And we need the boron and the hydrogen to make diborane. And you notice this is so bad I actually had to put signs up to remind us of what each of these machines is for, because there are 4 chemical reactors here. So obviously next is ammonia, which is the nitrogen combined with the hydrogen. And the diborane and the water going to make boric acid. And then the boric acid and the ammonia become the boron nitride solution, which we are then crystallizing into the powder. So to be clear, I don't have speed upgrades in any of this. This is all just chugging along really, really slowly because I have these drawers limited to a single stack. And an export bus on the boron ingots to keep a stack in there, so slowly melt down and use, and a storage bus on the boron nitride. And that's just to bring it in my network. I've got a pressurizer in my main automation lab to handle the final step there. So we're finally getting closer, but now we have to actually put together the cells. Alright, so I added some more pedestals around my crafting core here, and I'm piggybacking this off the existing recipe. There's no overlap on materials that would block the thing going into the center unit there, so there's no real conflict there. If there are, we'll probably have to build some more of these later, but I don't think it's an issue. Now, I need to be clear. I did not automate the resonant cell frame, the empty one, not because the thermionic fabricator is a pain to automate, which it kind of is because of the requires the sand input here. It's because I don't have multiple of these items here completely automated yet. The mana dust requires mana diamonds, as well as a couple of these dusts that I don't have automated yet. Those are probably easy and I just haven't gotten around to it. I'd have to automate the Endurnium glass, which haven't done yet, which isn't hard. The inner casings require empowered diamantane, which I don't have set up yet. You get the idea. I'm lazy. I can just shove those in my existing thermionic fabricator, and it's not like I have to make a lot of these, at least not anytime soon. So I guess let's press the button and see if this actually works. Because as a reminder, this takes a bunch of items. I did go get some more of the pulsating propolis out of the hives for this, although I already had half of it from just smashing the hives to create them in the first place, so that part wasn't hard. I just pre-created the meshes though to save a crafting step. Alright, it claims everything is good to go. Let's see how long this takes and if it actually works right. Here come all the items. Dumping the energy in, looks like it worked. and out it goes. And here comes the next set for the second one we need. Alright, and done with that. And with that, I think we can now set up that elite table in the back corner there and try to get this set up to see if the final step to make the ultimate table works. Alright, I think we're just about ready to go. The recipe for it claims that it has everything it needs in its very large list, so let's kick it off. And now, when these come into the automatic system here, we're actually going to have to set up the elite table with the actual pattern, but we can cross that bridge once we get there. Alright, and I got all the items arrayed into the elite crafting table now. We have the table created. Let's tell it that the recipe is okay, and that it should auto-eject out the west. So fun fact, the table I'm holding in my hand is the second one of these I've made. For some reason, when it finished last time and immediately got exported out, it didn't show up in my inventory anywhere. I went crawling all over my base trying to figure out where it might have gone to in case my AE system dumped it into a chest or something that wasn't somehow connected. I can't find it. So that was a really expensive thing to have blow up on a mistake, and I have no idea what happened to it. But mission accomplished. We now have the ultimate crafting table, which means we have finally unlocked the bragging rights section, and we are finally properly into the end game now. So now I guess I just have to finish up the rest of these singularities and actually build out all of them. And maybe we can finally start into the final process here. Still have a lot of automation to do, still have a lot of scut work to do, but we're finally closing in on the end. So I'd call this a really productive day despite the fact that I've now made 2 of these tables. So if you found this video interesting or entertaining, please consider leaving a like or subscribing if you're new. As always, I'm Ard. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.